you just text them and say, hey, Matt, it was great to meet you today. You did amazing. You might be a little sore. Haha, that's okay. Don't kill me. But I'll plan on seeing you Thursday. Let me know if anything comes up, right? That's building stickiness. And it's happening after the first workout. And they've already been introduced. Right. They met 2 people. And it turns out one of them lives in the neighborhood. All these things, but you got to we have to facilitate that fast and furious. Yeah. Because that's going to make it stickier for them long term.
And if you don't, it literally, it's not hard for somebody to then if say they want to cancel their membership. What's keeping them there?
Good morning, Matt.
Rick, what's going on, man?
Not much. Big stuff breaking in the news today. Did you hear that the CEO of IKEA just became the Prime Minister of Sweden?
Really?
He's currently assembling his cabinet.
So my kids asked me where poo comes from. So I gave them, I explained it to them. And they kind of just stood there in shock and stunned. And then they asked, well, where does Tigger come from?
He comes from the front. Poo in the back, Tigger in the front. Ooh, that reminds me of a joke that I can't tell.
Oh, God.
Hi, welcome to the podcast, folks. Matt, today we're going to talk about a theory or a concept or a lens on the business that we call time to value, or TTV is the acronym.
Yeah. It's something we always kind of knew and already did, obviously. We have stuff in place, but TTV, it sounds cool.
Yeah, well, it's a way to label it, and it is a business term, so you can Google it, and it's there. And basically what it means is, what's the time gap between when someone purchases or asks for something of value and when that thing of value is provided to them? Mm-hmm. And the quicker that time is between the smaller the gap, the better perception of a customer experience. Typically, the stickier the customer is going to be. And yeah, it's just better to help build your business if you can bring the time to value down to the smallest window of time. And so when you look at other business models that do this, I think you could look at Amazon as an example. Amazon doesn't do anything except make things friction-free. That's one of the things they do, right? And they ship your stuff out insanely fast. As a matter of fact, I forgot who mentioned this, but someone said hey, a great business model would literally be just to come up with a business that could do something that's already happening in market in half the time.
Yeah,
that's
simple,
the business model.
Just find the pain point. It takes too long. I'm gonna make it quicker,
100%.
Cheaper.
Yep, quicker, less expensive. Honestly, I think if you could increase time to value, you could actually charge more. If you told me, hey, I can get you from point A to point B in 6 months, or I can get you from point A to point B in 2 months. I know you're spending less time with me. Let's say it's service-based, but theoretically, isn't that more valuable?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, for speed. So I think when we look at it through the perception as a customer experience measure, getting people to some type of value based on what they think they're buying or what you know that they really need in your business is really, really valuable. And other big companies realize this. It's look, I'll do exactly what everyone else does. I'll just do it in half the time, or 60% as fast, or whatever that is, 60% faster, I should say. And when they do that, it's a better business. It's really that simple. So we're going to talk about the things that we are doing in our business for time to value. Just some examples, and hopefully it'll help you guys that own businesses. If you're thinking about buying an alloy, if you're a candidate in the pipeline or an existing franchisee, this will give you an idea of how we think about the things that we build for you, because it's not by accident that a lot of the things are already, a lot of these things we have in place that we're going to talk about today, but they're built and they're put into place for this very thing, right? Mm-hmm. This is the lens that we look at when we're approaching a customer. We understand that getting them to the thing as quick as possible, and providing that value, whatever that is, it's going to be a much more valuable service. It's going to make them sticky. Again, our retention's really good. Why? Because we'll get people here as fast as possible, and then they're now bought into the fact that we've delivered on the thing, whatever that is.
Yep.
And that they trust that we're going to continue to deliver on those things. So it makes us stickier. So it also drives inherent trust a bit higher if you can get there quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'll speak to it just through our franchise business before we get into the client facing business, right? The gym business, if you will. But I know that, like, as an example, getting to real estate is a very slow process. I'm on a forum for franchisors, just all about franchising. And someone hopped on there the other day and they're like, yeah, I've got a fitness franchise. I've got this LOI out there and the landlord was not responsive at all. Should I move on to my next space? And then, that was a relevant, obviously, question. And then the comments were a lot of people saying the same things like, hey, look, it's just the nature of the beast. Like, some landlords are, they move slower. If they're in a very dynamic, crowded market, they'll sit on an LOI and maybe wait for a better offer, right? So they're shopping you around without really telling you that. So their lack of responsiveness is really just a strategy for them to keep shopping it and see if they can get a higher bidder, if that makes sense. So, but knowing that, we have put things in place to speed up the process because, like, you sign the franchise agreement, you're at an all-time peak. And we talked about this in this Kanter's law where, like, the beginning of something is super exciting. Happy ending, it's just like when it's all over, or you look back on it, or it's up and running, whatever, that's amazing. The in-between part can feel like a failure because it's two steps forward and back. But you can mitigate that if you can put those poles in the ground. Another podcast that we've done, often, right? And relevantly often. And so I think the earlier that you can provide the value in that setting would be like, let's get them, site searches earlier on. So we've put a lot of time and energy just recently into getting our real estate process to move faster because it's been a kind of a trough, if you will, in the ups and downs of opening a brick and mortar business. Landlords aren't fun to deal with. That's just the nature of the beast. But we've already put things in place to speed up the process and to make that time to value quicker, right? Little things like we jump on an orientation call within a day or so of your signing. That's a big deal. Then you're excited. Then we do the handoffs. But the way that we're sort of managing those handoffs to real estate and construction and all that, we're just speeding up the process because we understand the value to the franchisee if we can speed the process up by a couple of months, or in the case of like site searches, cut that in half time-wise, much higher time to value, right? So just little things like that. But for the sake of this podcast, I hope that gives you guys an idea of just what we're talking about. We're going to talk about it through the lens of the customer in the gym. And there's two ways to think about it. There's tangible, so there's things that can be measured, and there's intangibles. And so that's kind of, that's the business definition, but that really parallels what we do pretty well. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So what do you think are in the bucket of the things that we could measure that are tangible?
Well, I mean, the tangible stuff this kind of goes right to why the client's even coming to see you is typically what they have some sort of aesthetic goal or, weight loss, body fat, whatever it may be. So that's your tangible stuff, right? So what we look at, and this is we're always playing ahead, is we know how to bring that time to value on the tangible stuff, but we also know what when we talk about the job of our product is on the back end, which is what? The community stuff. So for the tangible stuff, we literally have markers in place to, like, say day one you come in, our full assessment, we do an in-body scan, movement screen. We're going to see, get a lot of numbers that we can tangibly show you in the 30 days, which is set up automatically if somebody's been in your facility, do it again, where we can show you that value and how much you've changed right then.
Right. So the customer comes to us for fat loss. And we've said this before. They come for that. They stay long-term for community.
Mm-hmm.
So if they come for fat loss, time to value would be showing them some progress in, say aesthetic goals, like body recomp, whatever that is, right? And we have the amazing tool for that. We use the InBody. And so it's going to be really important that we get them on the InBody in 30 days to show them the results of the work that they've put in.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why they came to you in the first place, right? That's why they pay you. You're the expert. You're here to show me, help me lose weight. You have to tangibly show them that. Like, if you didn't have all the community side of things, there's a reason there's 90-day fat loss pill or whatever. It's just time. You get it and you're done.
Right.
But we don't want that.
Well, it's a slippery slope because, time to value could mean, running some kind of a short-term, highly effective yet a little bit off-brand with the science and the way that we approach training. It's not an easy sell. You're selling the future, proposition of fitness with a lot of hard work before it. So the quicker that you can show some success, great. But I don't think it's You don't need to do things that are outside of the brand and the integrity to get there. What I mean by that is if you ran like, say, a really quick weight loss challenge, right?
Mhm.
You could argue that like, wow, if you could produce results for people, no matter how, again, it was maybe not the most scientific way and it's not sustainable, and we all can talk about it, and we all understand that they're in the fitness industry. But if we could provide value to someone short term and show them some quick fat loss, you would argue then now you've proven that you can do the thing, right?
Mhm.
And now there's trust there, and then you can then start having conversations about the 20-mile march and that fitness is a journey, and it's the longer it takes you to lose weight, the more likely it is to keep it off. All those things that we know, but that's a hard conversation to have at the start because you haven't even proven that you can do the thing, right?
Mhm.
So I don't think we have to go like extreme, like a 6-week challenge or something crazy, and do things that are off-brand that aren't very scientific that we don't believe in. But I think we still have these tools in place, and there is something there. You do need to show people that you know what you're doing, that you can produce what they stated was the desired goal, right? So you mentioned the 2 tangible tools that we have for the ARC avatar. It's usually look better, feel better. And feel better is about movement. So we've got a movement screen that has a tangible score that we can rescreen,
Mhm.
right? And we've got a perfect tool for, again, measuring body fat. And not just that, but like also muscle, right? So let's say someone throws a goal out of, I want to lose 10 pounds, or let's just say it's in a month, so it's 4 pounds, and they only lose 3. And so you could run the risk if you're just using the scale of them feeling like they've missed. But if you then showed them like what's going on inside their body, and it's like, oh, no, you actually lost 5 pounds of fat,
Right.
and you added a pounder and a half of muscle, whatever those things are, right? Excuse me. So that's the really the best tool for what I think the tangible, obvious things are. Then there's one more thing on that. Like I was listening to Andrew Huberman's podcast, and he was talking about things that we already know scientifically. Like, I think he ran a little self-test during the podcast, and it was all about mobility. So it's like, look, reach down and touch your toes. See how far you can go with your legs locked. It's like, okay, great. Now do this. And it was like, fire the antagonist muscle groups, which in this case would be your quadriceps, right? So just tighten your quadriceps as tight as you can. Hold them for 15 to 30 seconds, as hard as you can squeeze them, right? And we know the science between firing an antagonist muscle group and the relaxation response to the other in this group, in this sake of this conversation, the hamstrings as an example. So then, fire these antagonist, quadriceps for 15 to 30 seconds. Now try to touch your toes again. You're going to have more range of motion. So it's not like we're looking to pull out of our bag of tricks some kind of like smoke and mirrors, but at the same time, like imagine if someone's like, hey, I'm really tight. And I mean, the old school toe touch, you can argue the validity of that for whatever, but I mean, it's an easy way to like measure how far you're bending over, right? So it's like, try to touch your toes. All right, now do this. Now touch your toes. If you just did that and they were like, wow, that's unbelievable. That's time to value, right? I want to be more flexible. I literally in 30 seconds made you more flexible. Right. So think about little things like that. And then we've got very scientific ways to measure that. But those are examples of what we're talking about that are tangible, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Things
time to
that can be
value.
seen.
We are showing somebody,
15 seconds is pretty
15
quick.
seconds, crazy improvement there. I mean, if you're looking at 30 days is not a long, time between in body, but showing that basically what they came for you're checking that box that you can actually prove it. Like,
Right.
Because everybody's still already looking like, I don't know if this is for me, whatever.
Right.
Well, I mean, it is. Look, Rick, you lost 5 pounds of body fat. You gained 5 pounds of muscle. That's fantastic, right? Pole in the ground, we talk about, gives you like, all right, now they buy in more, validated them. You're pretty much, going in the right direction.
Right.
But we know that that's not gonna, in the long-term play, going to bring that value that client needs to enjoy your services.
Right. So that's a perfect segue. So let's shift gears into the things that are not tangible, right? And what we know is people come for fitness goals, which are like typically weight loss, what have you, but they stay for, community, right? They stay because they found a health partner that can walk them through the ups and downs of fitness journey, help them navigate, should I take supplements or not? I mean, just all the things that are going to happen in our typical stay, 3 years, in a 3-year journey, what all is going to happen to fitness, right?
Yeah.
So now we've earned that trust, but they're going to stay then for the long-term community. So what are some things that we have in place already, Matt, or that we could build to foster community. That's the intangible.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff that we already talked about. We've talked about it in previous podcasts. I mean, just literal touch points, and it takes a little work, takes a little effort. I think from the get-go, imagine somebody new comes in your facility making introductions. Seems small. Like introduce them to all the people in their group that they're working with. Introduce them to somebody that maybe lives in their neighborhood or whatever. We've talked about these things ad nauseam, but start from the beginning and start cultivating that community. Right. Because you're at the end of the day, we're making a tribe of people that are probably, generally speaking, working all towards the same goal. Right. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it sticky. Right. So we start right there. We're constantly looking for, again, we've talked about this before, wins, uplifts, things that are going on that they've improved, just like we did the InBody, which is only going to get you so far. Right. Just your body composition. Like we know fitness is a long journey. But we're going to look for other things to uplift, get them, why they keep coming in to see you. If you do that well and you build that tribe of people where everybody's, working towards the same goal, like as a team, people will stay forever.
Yep. Yeah. And so we have our 7 core tenets, which we talk about a lot. So you can go back and listen to that podcast. But in those 7 core tenets, we have using people's names, right? That's
right.
Again, that's time to value because your name is the most valuable thing sound to you in all of language, right? Is your name. So it's been proven a million times over. Use people's names. Great. Introduce them to the group, like you said. And there's a way you go about that. So what we're really good at doing is facilitating community. That's really what we're doing,
sure.
Right? Other things, what would happen, like, say, what we do after the session, right?
Yeah, we talk about these easy things that are built in that, should do anyway. But like, say somebody doesn't come to a session, like, are we reaching out? Or say somebody did something well, or the first time you trained them, are you doing any touch points, sending them messages, calling them, sending them nutritional articles? What we've built and what's already in place literally allows you to build that community quicker versus just like them coming in randomly working out, like imagine a boot camp, right? You're just hoping people will catch on to each other and their friends working out together. So we have built it where you get that value faster because we have all the touch points in place, and it's just, you just got to run the play.
Yeah, that's a great point, because again, when we're talking about speed to value, and again, this is the tangible, intangible. I don't think the customers really know that they're coming in for community. They wouldn't state that because they don't even know what they don't know yet, right? So we're going to get them the tangible things that we just talked about, typically mobility and body recomp. Those are the 2 main things that our customers are looking for. And then, or maybe strength, and that's easy to measure as well. But then on the other side, there's all those intangible things, but the speed of those things is really what we're talking about. And so,
and how everything's set up that allows you to do those things.
Yeah. So if you don't have these systems, if you're an Alloy franchisee, lean heavily into the things that we've already built for you. The 7 core tenets, all the things that we're constantly coaching you to. This is why they're so important, because it's one thing if someone accidentally sticks around for 6 months and then they're part of the community. That's not what we're shooting for. So that time, to shrink that time, that's why we built all of these customer service techniques. That's why there is the 7 core tenets and all the 1,000,001 other things, right? That's why we always send a text message to any new customer the first time they work out. Like before you leave that day, it's built into the padding around the trainer's shift that you text that customer, and we've got all the mechanisms and the software and everything to do this, where you just text them and say, hey, Matt, it was great to meet you today. You did amazing. You might be a little sore. That's okay. Don't kill me. But I'll plan on seeing you Thursday. Let me know if anything comes up, right? That's building stickiness. And it's happening after the first workout. And they've already been introduced. Right. They met 2 people. And it turns out one of them lives in the neighborhood. All these things. But you got to we have to facilitate that fast and furious. Yeah. Because that's going to make it stickier for them long term.
And if you don't, it literally, it's not hard for somebody to then, if say they want to cancel their membership. What's keeping them there? Well, they got some great results. This is the cool thing around the corner. I'm going to go try this out.
Well, and it's interesting that you brought that up, because I think we've always been frustrated when we've seen this before, where I think in the fitness industry, I've heard people say, well, as long as you're producing results for people, and they're talking about the results that come from body recomp, flexibility, they'll stay. But that's not always true. We've actually had people that we've seen in different settings that have come in into any setting. They've had great results based on the tangibles, and there's still a disconnect and they leave. Kind of goes back to the haircut story that I've talked about before, where the haircut's the same every time, and that will produce again, the same look on my head. But if the experience is different every time, there's a disconnect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing here where like, all right, you might actually do what that customer stated, but if you don't understand the job of the product, the job's to be done, that it's to build a community, and you don't do that fast and furious, even if they get their fitness results, you still run the risk of losing them, which I think a lot of people are surprised to hear.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people out there probably overvalue, just results and working out. Right. That's it, right? They think that that's going to, it's a fun place to work out and people are getting results. Well, so what? They can go find that a lot of places. It's not rocket science to get results, by the way.
Right. It's like move more, eat less. I know that's an oversimplification, but at the end of the day, that's essentially what we're talking about, right?
Exactly. So if there's nobody keeping you there, if you don't have any friends that you've created, we've all had, I've been here forever. I've seen plenty of times or sessions where people didn't connect or something, or I've seen other coaches where just another new client or whatever just works out by themselves or whatever. Yeah, you may be able to hold on them for a while, but they're eventually going to leave. It's not sticky. They don't have another reason to come in.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Which that's who we're battling. Who comes into personal training? People that need a lot of help and they don't want to do it. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So how much do you need to put out there and build that really, really fast, or they're going to fall off because something's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Their life's going to take a weird turn. They're not going to be motivated. They're going to have some work situation, whatever those things are. And the community and the stickiness of the things that you build early on are what's going to keep them around. So we have all the mechanisms in place to make that happen immediately when they start at the gym, in addition to the tangible things that are obvious to fitness. But keep in mind, those may not even be the things that keep them long-term. Even if you deliver on the first tangible things, you still may lose them. So the intangibles are just as important. We have all that built in. I hope this helps you guys understand why the speed of providing that value it may be the most important thing to client longevity and retention and keeping them there.
Yeah.
You can use it in any business. If you're just starting a business, start there. What happens in my community and how can I cut that time in half?
To kind of go back to the franchising thing, it's time to value is just think about it. That's why you buy a franchise, right? It starts out with money typically, right? What are those conversations? I want to have an investment and I want to get my return and what's going to get me there
quickly
quicker.
Can I get return on investment? Right.
Right.
That's again, when you're looking at franchising at the highest level, it's can I get return on investment? What's my cash on cash return over a long period of time? When does it start? How quickly can I get there? Right. I think, we haven't even talked about this from our franchise standpoint. That's probably the thing we do better than anyone. It's hey, if you run the play and you're Dunwoody as an example for our locations and you sell your club full, how quick is your time to value?
Sure.
It's pretty damn quicker than any other business that you're going to open, right? Based on what you're going to invest and what that return's going to be. So a lot of ways to look at time to value, but I hope that gives you guys an understanding of our lens on things and how quickly we're trying to get people to that point where the things that we know are going to make them happy, the things that they expect and the things that they might not even expect that we know is going to keep them around long term. We're trying to make those things happen as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff.
Anything else?
I got things, but not right now.
You got things? Tune in next time when Matt talks about his things. All right, peace.